Welcome to the Gruber Morning Show, to our EV podcast. I'm Pete Gruber.
I'm Mark Schaffner. Good morning. Welcome, everybody.
Today is a double hitter. We're actually going to have the Roadster podcast at 11 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're interested in hearing all things or new things Roadster, stay with us, and that we'll resume at 11 after this EV podcast. The image behind us here speaks to the fact that solar is overtaking coal in Europe. And I think AI did a great job with that image, didn't it?
I think they did too.
If you want to pull that up on your screen, I can show it.
Yeah, you know what? I don't have it on my screen. I just realized.
You don't have it. It's in the folder.
Okay, let me go back to the EV folder.
You have the show folder over there.
Yeah. Give me a second here, folks. And yeah, there it is. You're absolutely right. Okay. Wait a minute. That's the same one.
Well, for some reason, I don't see your laptop screen. Is it plugged in?
It is, yes. All right.
Yeah, Dolly did a good job on that particular photo. It's and tell me more about the Europe.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. The European power changes that they've had over the last couple of years.
Yeah, of course, the Europeans are a tad more interested in the environment than we are, typically have been. See if I can get a better shot of this.
Yeah, that's a good shot.
Yeah, okay. So we're excited. I mean, that's what we do. We're in the sustainable energy business, and anytime we can get fossil fuel usage and burning off the planet or reduced on the planet, it's a good thing for humanity. But solar, of course, I saw an interesting article. If they took and covered 1.2% of the Sahara Desert in solar, 1.2%.
Okay.
It would take care of the entire globe's electrical needs.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I couldn't get my head around that. I thought, how's that possible? I mean, it's not just the Sahara Desert. If you think about it, look at Arizona. Look at places in the United States. Look at how much federal land there is that is under or that's not utilized.
Yeah. Now, how big is the Sahara Desert? Do we know?
Don't know. Fact checkers back there, how big is the Sahara Desert is a question for our audience. And it looks like we've got people coming in. Highlander, thanks for joining us. He says, thanks for your help, ChatGPT-4, which I get free as a student. I figured out a great way to use it, so I'll be sending you the paper copies today. Yeah, it's cool stuff, Highlander.
Hey, Pete.
Yeah.
So the Sahara Desert is 3.6 million square miles.
Okay, amazing.
Stretches across 11 countries in North Africa.
North Africa, okay.
Okay, so you said 1.2% of that.
Yeah.
So if you divide that number roughly by 8, you would get the number of square miles. And this is for global energy, right?
Global energy, the entire planet. And remember that photovoltaic technology continues to improve.
Right.
So that would become even more significant as it becomes more dense, the amount of energy that we're generating from the square footage.
So right now, if we had 400,000 square miles of solar panels, because that's 1/8 of 3.6 million.
Oh, you're doing the math, aren't you?
Of course. I have another ask for Jesse then, or for Aaron or Cass. What state in the United States is closest to 400,000 square miles in area?
All right, we'll report on that in a second here. In the meantime, Highlander says, yes, Jesse and the entire video crew, the bagels are on their way. Thank you. You're so kind.
Thank you.
And they are a big hit when they arrive. So in the meantime, have another image for you related to... There we go.
Oh, this is that new asteroid that people had found, right?
Yes. Yeah, this was interesting. Apparently, astronomers at Harvard just announced the discovery of a new near-Earth asteroid, designating it, and they even gave it a name, 2018 CN41. But they soon realized that this object was actually Elon Musk's Tesla Roadster. VIN 686, folks, in case you're interested, which VIN number, and everything in the Roadster world is about VINs. Everybody
yes.
remembers their cars' VINs. There were only 2,400 built. That's one of the reasons. Elon actually had 2 Tesla Roadsters at the time. He had Founders Roadster Series number 1. Martin Eberhard has 2. One of our customers is storing number 3 here. And he wasn't going to send that into space, thankfully, because that's a collectible Roadster. It's a piece of history.
Right.
Bin 686, though, is, toward the later production runs, and that's the one he felt was expendable. And you may ask, well, why would he put this on top of a, Falcon Heavy rocket and then send it in space? I'm not sure they really realized the extent of the marketing genius that this represented, but what they needed was ballast.
Right.
And at that time, these rockets were unproven, and nobody was going to give him $30 million satellites to put on this rocket. So he needed to prove something. Instead of putting cinder blocks and anvils on this rocket, they put one of the early Roadster cars.
Well, and you think about it. Okay, now we're 6 years later, and Tesla's all over the news again for this Roadster.
Yeah.
Just this time, they've gotten way more the value than the cost the Roadster would be in marketing.
And can you imagine if they ever find this thing or they're able to retrieve it and bring it back to Earth? By the way, this image is not a picture of that Roadster in space because obviously no one is out there to take pictures of it. This is AI's representation of a weathered Roadster. And there's a lot of speculation now as to what this Roadster looks like. Did the UV eat the paint? Did it kill the tires? Were there... In space, there's a lot of collision type things happening constantly. What did it do to the car?
Oh, sure.
But anyway, the rest of the story is it was launched into space in February of 2018 by SpaceX to test the Falcon Heavy rocket. And this car has returned to a position which is approximately 150,000 miles from Earth in what they call the Earth-Mars asteroid belt, oblique in orbit, leading to its misidentification as an asteroid.
That's funny. That's so cool. So do you think in another 6 years they're going to miss it again and try to call it an asteroid again?
I hope not. I hope our technology is better than that.
Hey, Mark,
Yes.
did you ask for 400,000 square miles?
Yes, about 400,000 square miles. What state in the United States would be about that?
So Alaska is approximately 663,000 miles, and then the next one would be Texas, which is 268,000 square miles.
Okay, so something about 2/3 the size of Alaska. That gives us some perspective because we're a little more familiar with
The size of
the size
states.
of the states. But that's no, actually,
That's to power the world.
that's to power the world.
Power ourselves.
And you had said it was 1.2% of the Sahara, not 12% of the Sahara.
Yes.
So actually, that would be 1/10 that size, not 400,000. It'd be 40,000 square miles. And so now you're looking at, instead of the state of Texas, we're looking at something like the state of Connecticut,
Kentucky.
Kentucky. Okay.
There you go. And there are probably some states that should be covered with solar panels. I didn't say that, did I? Highlander says, do you have any news on the updated Roadster? Everybody asks. And I'm not sure that even Elon knows what the final rollout is going to be on that car. But he says, we know it's a little side project, but any update would help. I guarantee you guys, as soon as we get any information on that Roadster's release, we'll certainly report. And I'm sure there'll be a bunch of other, news outlets that will get that along with us.
Yeah, and we definitely are scanning for that on a regular basis as well.
Yeah. So here's another interesting headline. Got an image popping up here. And this one is from Electric. They say that solar overtakes coal in Europe and gas declines for the 5th year running. Remember we said earlier that that Europe tends to do a better job
Yeah.
of going green. So,
I took a look at that particular article, and a couple things that stood out to me. First, Nuclear energy is still almost 20% of Europe's energy generation. It is the largest component of their energy generation. That has stayed relatively steady. Solar and wind, to a lesser extent, are the two that are really, really growing, and they're growing at the cost of coal and natural gas. Makes me ask, because having been born and partly grown up in Europe, what do you think are the geopolitical ramifications to Europe getting off of natural gas completely? Because Europe has traditionally gotten most of its natural gas from places like Russia.
Yeah, Russia. Yeah, you bet. Well, it's definitely having an impact on the Russian economy. Some of the scaling back with the what I find fascinating is when I lived there was no solar.
Right.
Farmhouses were farmhouses. They had red roofs. We were back there even 10 years ago, and it was amazing to me that you could drive into the Bavarian countryside, the old traditional farmhouses that were hundreds of years old oftentimes, passed through generations, have been upgraded to solar. Infinitely on a larger scale than what we do here in the United States. And the real irony there is it's gray and overcast the majority of the time in Europe.
Yeah.
The sunlight is a premium there. And somehow they still managed to make a commitment to that alternative form of energy, which I found very, remarkable.
It's very heartening to see that type of commitment. I think it's going to have a lot of ramifications in our world geopolitical landscape as large swaths of the world move away from traditional fossil fuels. The Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Iraq, Iran, that whole area in there, it was nothing but desert and tribes until oil became such a big thing in the early 20th century. And now for almost 100 years, they've had an outsized influence on the entire politics of the world. That influence is waning and going away.
And those dirty forms of energy were so plentiful. That was the reason. I mean, Europe, coal is everywhere.
Yeah.
Easy to mine, although huge, setbacks in terms of health and, even on the people doing the work mining, as we know here in this country. But they are so resource rich and they're adapting. Like you said, wind energy.
Yeah.
And solar, despite the fact that it's not a country full of sunlight, they are making that commitment.
I'm really glad to see them making that commitment. I look at, having grown up a lot in Alaska, there's enough coal in Alaska to power, using 1970s and 80s numbers, to power the United States for over a millennium.
Really? Yeah.
They don't know the amount of natural gas in Alaska is in the several trillion cubic foot range. It's cheaper for the oil drillers in the North Slope to pump natural gas back into the ground to offset the pressurization of the oil fields than it is to pump water.
Amazing. I've got a video here I want to show you, folks. And this one is actually from Will Fan, who is one of the principals in this new Solo Electromechanica effort in Barcelona, Spain. And let me see if I can full screen this for you. It really resonates well. All right. The video's here.
Look at those.
All right. Back to the video. On my Facebook. That back up. There we go. And should be able to double click on that reel, right, and do a full screen on this. No. All right. Yeah, actually, I put the link into the. There we go. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is I have one of these in my driveway currently, and we have begun working on the Solo Electromechanica Solos. The link is in that Photoshop file, Jesse. And picture that I wanted to show you is I'm test driving this little guy right now. It's next to my wife's Tesla Model S. And even compared to Model S, which is not a large car by any stretch, it's a sedan, you can see how small this is. It is a single commuter vehicle.
Can you put it in Discord? I don't have Photoshop on this computer.
Oh, you don't? Okay. You know what? Let me just go to this image. If you can pop up that image, Jesse.
Yep.
There we go.
I'll get that to you.
Yep.
So for the audience here, yeah, this is a single commuter, three-wheeler electric vehicle. It's not an impressive range. It's 100 miles. Top speed is 80 miles an hour. But as I'm test driving these now, we're repairing them. We're restoring some of them. This is one of the early prototypes, first generation actually. Just got it running actually. It's beginning to appeal to me in that the vehicle makes so much sense. If you're going to work every day, you're going to work by yourself generally, unless your wife works with you or you've got family that work at the same place. Why have a six-seater vehicle that you're taking to work every day? 1,200 pounds of battery, all of that. So this concept really resonates with me because for the majority of things that we do, going to the grocery store, for example, going to the gym, heaven forbid if you don't ride your bike to the gym and you need to drive there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The best one is they'll drive to the gym and then ride a stationary bicycle, which the same distance or greater than they from their house. But I think the concept is interesting. Look for this year, actually, toward the end of this year, Solo Electromechanica in Barcelona, Spain, is going to release their fourth generation vehicles. It'll be small quantities toward the end of this year, but next year is when we're going to get into the thousands. And these things will be back on the road. These things will be available again to purchase, and the price is pretty aggressive. TikTok, Kiwi Clive says, sorry, you're wrong. Solar isn't great right now. Okay, well, thank you for that opposing opinion. If you like, tell us why, Kiwi Clive from TikTok. And then TikTok Daddy Stewart says, in Wind Myself, Trump is going after us and it will have terrible consequences. Okay. Instagram, Chrissa Stitch says, modern day Lasetta. I'm not following that. Is that?
Yeah, it's a type of car. I looked it up. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pop up
I
an
said
image of it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Just
that
give
is
me
a
hot second.
Yep. Thank you, Cass. That's true. That's a European car, I believe. So we'll see what the Isetta. Yeah, look at that.
Oh, yeah.
There was a BMW Messerschmitt that was kind of that size too, and the front was the door. It opened up. Again, single-seater commuter cars. I saw one of these in Germany about 2 years ago or so, and it was a single-seater like this, and he had signs on both sides that says taxi. You're going to have to think about that. But so anyway, hope you enjoyed that picture of the Solo. We'll have more to report on how the progress is coming along. Is that video anywhere near?
Jesse, check there's a text file in today's directory with the link. My Discord crashed on me.
All right. And in the meantime, I'll tell you about the next article we're going to go into here. And this one, the headline is, Rivian has several automakers knocking on their door for EV tech, which is pretty flattering when you think about it. You would think that the tech leaders in EV would be Tesla. But Rivian, I guess, is climbing up to that distinction as well.
Looking a little bit at that, Rivian and Volkswagen's partnership continues to grow and develop. Volkswagen is in talks with Rivian to put almost another $6 billion into the company in investment. And then in return, Volkswagen is going to get even further access to Rivian's software and some of the EV technology that Rivian's developed. Like Lucid with motors, Rivian seems to be carving out a niche on the software and interface side that has other automakers impressed.
Interesting. RJ Scaringe. Yeah, definitely a mover and shaker in the industry. They say that Rivian continues to focus on its upcoming R2 model, which is set to be released in 2027. And it's also working to integrate this technology into future vehicles from VW, Audi, Porsche, and the new Scout brand. Some of the advantages are VW is considering sharing modules and bundling purchase volumes, which could now lead to greater economies for scale for Rivian. Part of the problem that a lot of these EV manufacturers have is supply chain and cash burn and not reaching the volume levels necessary to get end column pricing. And by partnering with someone that's larger or in the same business and pooling that type of purchasing power increases. Now, Volkswagen is planning a $5.8 billion investment, which RJ calls a meaningful financial opportunity for both companies. They did say also that they're planning to roll out hands-free driving technology. This is Rivian now. They don't call it FSD or full self-driving, but looking ahead, they say to 2026, Rivian aims to introduce an eye-free driving system as part of its ongoing tech evolution.
The whole concept of eye-free, the first thing I thought of, you mean a blind person can drive?
Good point. Yeah, that's true.
A blind person, or at least a blind person, can get into a car. And
yeah, forget seeing eye dogs. We now have machines that are doing that very thing, right?
Yeah, we have a machine that's doing that very thing. It's a cool development. And my initial thought of, oh my gosh, a blind person on the road in front of a wheel, but they're kind of not. It's
the machine doing
it's
all
the
the
machine
work.
doing everything. It's here in Phoenix. It's a Waymo that's it's the same type of thing. So this is Rivian is definitely making some waves in the industry, more than I had realized that they were.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, can you double check that link on your computer and open it? Because that's giving me this video does not exist error.
Sure.
So to continue with this, the R2 price is scheduled to start around $45,000, which in the world of EVs is down toward the lower end. Rivian has also secured a loan agreement with the U.S. Department of Energy for up to $6.6 billion in financing to build a new manufacturing plant in Georgia. They are rapidly expanding the workforce to support the facility construction. So the question then becomes, could Rivian challenge Tesla's dominance? Well, it's entirely possible, according to this article, and the kind of changes that...
Pete, I got a question for you. With all these new cheap EVs coming out, do you think there's going to be massive reservations and waits for these things? Like the Gravity's about to come out too, that's supposed to be way cheaper than other Lucids, for example.
I think the auto manufacturers learned some time ago, especially with Tesla, that if you take reservations, it's a great way to fund operations and, put a dent into the cash burn.
And when you get a really good number of reservations, like the Model Y Juniper that picked up 70,000 reservations in 5 days recently, it makes the press.
Yeah, it does.
Jesse, I found the typo. You can check it again.
Let me check it.
But yeah, that's, and RJ Scaringe was in the press not only for this stuff, he was also talking about the $7,500 credit and said, I don't care. I don't care if it's here, it's here. If it's gone, it's gone. And he said for two reasons. First, whatever happens to us with the credit happens to everybody else in the EV industry.
Yeah, good point.
So that's a absolutely fair point. The other thing he said, and I love the attitude here, he says Rivian's goal wasn't to capture the tax credit. Rivian's goal is to make compelling products. And those that make compelling products are going to sell their products regardless of any tax credits that might or might not exist.
Yeah.
So he says, actually, long term, it's going to help us because the loss of the tax credit is causing the traditional manufacturers to go back to manufacturing in the traditional way, which puts them even further behind us, and the EV revolution will continue on.
Yeah.
And so he said they're sacrificing long-term viability for short-term gain. And that's exactly what you and I have been saying now for a while as well about Ford and GM and Chrysler, etc.
Yeah, good point. Instagram, Hearted Gaya Kavad says, hello, thanks for joining us. All right, so we've, are we going to play that video?
I'm playing the reel and I can pull it up, but it's the same size as it was on yours. I'm trying to get it to be full screen still.
Okay.
Hold on one second.
Now, what Will did here, and he's I believe the new CEO of Electromechanica, definitely one of the principals in this new operation in Barcelona. He puts together these short, compelling clips that really are designed to get you to think. All right, so he's talking about a gas-guzzling SUV, 4,300 pounds, to pick up a cup of coffee. And he's showing a Solo G3 here. There's some interesting statistics, and this is one that Electromechanica has been pushing, that 80% of the time it's just you in the vehicle. You know, why do you need that large vehicle to spend 80% of your time there?
Yeah, I'll try and see if I can get full screen.
You know, and that's a really good point that he has. Most of my time is spent in my commute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you too. Yeah, me too. Everybody.
You know,
yeah.
with all of us. And if not commuting, it's most of the time that I run errands. I'm doing them myself. I'm not doing them with anybody else.
See,
Right.
that's why I take my motorcycle, you guys.
I
love
get
my
it.
motorcycle. It's just me.
Right. All right, I got another image here. I'll pop up while we're trying to get that video to play for you guys. This one was an interesting one. More people now work in clean energy than in fossil fuels. So it looks like we've reached that tipping point. Nearly 40 million people worldwide work in jobs related to clean energy, with 13 million more jobs to be created by the year 2030.
That is just a astounding statistic to me, because there is so much. I still think of it as politicization. You know, the politics being injected into clean energy that are that cause people to talk about stuff that just isn't real. Clean energy is going nowhere. The electric vehicle is going to die. Solar is useless. Wind power is unreliable, so on and so forth. And those are the type of headlines that just scream out there. Or on the very progressive side, clean energy is everything. It's the world. There's going to be a new world order that's determined on who has the best clean energy, and it goes off the rails on the other side. Well, at the supply and demand, there's obviously demand for clean energy. There are 53 million people that are working to fulfill that demand.
Yeah, good point. Well, it looks like we're coming to the end of our podcast here. Is that video anywhere near available?
I think we'll have to play it next time. I can't get it to be full screen. I'm going to have to reach out to Will and see if we can get that video.
Yeah.
That's, you know, there's one other thing I wanted to close with, and this one's a Lucid thing. Lucid Gravity, in 3 days, gains access to Tesla's supercharger network. Now that you'd think, okay, that's not a big deal. We've got other brands that are doing that. But Lucid's Gravity is the first non-Tesla with an export that has access to the network. Gravity is also one of the very first vehicles on the market, Tesla or not. The Cybertruck might be another that can fully utilize the latest generation charging infrastructure that Tesla's putting in place. So they're V4 chargers. At maximum pull, at maximum draw, the Gravity can pull at a rate of 400 kilowatts an hour for energy to charge its battery. That equates, because of Lucid's efficiency, that equates to somewhere between 25 and 33 miles per minute of charging capacity.
Per minute?
Per minute.
That is pretty impressive, yeah. So if you're on vacation, you're not going to be sitting at that supercharger for half an hour.
Exactly. You literally could go plug in and wait your 3 to 5 minutes, get your 150 to 200 miles, and be off and go again.
Right. Now, what we know is that there were 7 Gravities released last month. And Next batch, I believe, are starting production in April, May.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to see how the company, what the stock does during that time as well. We track it,
Oh, yes.
and we're not giving investment advice here, but it has been definitely a volatile stock. It tends to move for no reason. There's no news, and suddenly it goes up 3 to 5%, and then it drops that much for
Yeah.
without any news. Highlander says, "Go Team Cass in her future electric motorcycle." Cass, do you think that's a reality?
I hope so. I'd like to have Kawasaki do a better electric motorcycle because you know how much I love Kawasaki's, but Zero is also a really good contender. Like I've thought about those ones as well. So if they
Very
want to
cool.
let me test them out, I'll do it.
Well, there you have it. If anyone is watching from either Kawasaki or Zero, we have a social media person, and we'll promise some great content, videos, and promote your product if you send Cass a demo or maybe even a freebie. Would you accept a freebie, Cass?
Oh, I'd accept a freebie. Let's go.
All right. Well, that kind of wraps up our EV podcast for today. In a half an hour, we'll be live again at 11 o'clock. And this time we'll be talking about the Tesla Roadster. This will be an interesting one because we are going to be talking about the anemic first generation replacement battery packs and how they're failing before even the legacy packs. We have a car in the shop right now that is actually only capable of going up to 45 miles an hour, which is reminiscent of the customer that we had up in the Malibu Hills that couldn't even get home because he couldn't climb, up to the elevation of his house. So we'll be talking about what recourse you have. What are the technical things that are going on inside that pack that are causing this? We had our engineers do a deep dive, do some test driving, and interesting findings at 100% throttle call. What's happening?
Definitely was.
So we'll be talking about that. And we'll also have one of our engineers join us, Bradley, who is available for consultation. And one of the interesting things about our operation is we answer the phone and we are available. And we have free things like free initial consultation if you have a problem with your Roadster. And then we'll even ship you a laptop and do on-site basic consultation through that laptop. So join us if you have a Roadster, if you'd like to see how we're utilizing current technology, including a Roadster GPT. We use AI to do fault analysis, which shortens the repair times and the diagnosing times. So I'm Pete Gruber.
I'm Mark Schaffner. Have a good day, and we will see you in a half hour.